Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forest over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taf, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species, with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forests over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.
Hello everyone, welcome to our Kaigangan Biodiversity webinar series. I am Red Obenda, your host for today. This webinar aims to raise awareness on the conservation and sustainable use of Kaigangan biodiversity through a series of online talks from our very own experts. So this webinar is made possible by the CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a research program implemented by the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Samar State University, and Eastern Samar State University. The program is also funded by the DOST-PCAARRD. Feel free to greet everyone and introduce yourself to our chat box, and please include your organization and location if possible. So before we begin, we would like to remind you of some of our webinar guidelines. So first, please keep your microphones muted. Second, you may send your questions using Zoom chat box, and we will accommodate your question in the Q&A session. Lastly, to receive the e-certificate for this event, please fill out our evaluation form. So the Google form will be posted in Zoom and Facebook chat box at the end of our program. E-certificates will be sent to the email you indicated in the evaluation form. So without further ado, to start the program, let us hear the opening remarks from Dr. Inocencio E. Buot Jr., Professor of UPLB and Program Leader of CONserve-KAIGANGAN.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray. And good morning, everyone. Since 2019, we have been studying the forests over limestone of Samar Island, particularly the Samar Island Natural Park and the Giwan Marine Resource production landscapes and seascapes. We collaborated with the Samar State University, the Eastern Samar State University, particularly in the Salcedo campus. And then we have also collaborated with people's organization like OSIS and Torpedo. Our 3-year research program, funded by the Department of Science and Technology and with the technical assistance from the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Aquatic Resources Research and Development, will incidentally terminate tomorrow, March 31, 2022. But very fortunately, our new program, or our new project, which is the phase 2, has been approved for implementation, and this will run until December 2023. We are now continuing on the program that will focus on prioritization of the conservation of native plants in the Kaigangan to sustain biodiversity and ecosystem services. The concept of ecosystem services might be quite blurred, to many, but this should include fresh water from fresh and clean water from rivers and springs, fertile lands, fresh air, availability of food and medicinal plants from forests. So these are some of the ecosystem services that our forest over limestone or Kaigangan is providing. Starting today until December of 2022, we will have monthly webinar series focused on Kaigangan biodiversity. We want to enhance awareness of the important role that Kaigangan forests is playing in nearby communities. We are enjoining everyone to walk with us in our monthly Kaigangan webinar series. And if you want to study more about Kaigangan biodiversity, whether plants or animals or microbes, please feel free to contact and collaborate with us. You can access our database so that you will be able to do some meta-analysis, and you can visit our FB and website for more details. Meanwhile, we are happy to have with us right now a resource person who will be able to discuss about the forest over limestone in Samar Island Natural Park, which has been nominated as UNESCO's World Cultural and Natural Heritage Site. I wish everyone a fruitful discussion and a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Buot, for officially opening our program. Let us now introduce our speaker for today's webinar, Ms. Elaine Loreen Villanueva. Forests. Miss Elaine is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Education, University of the Philippines, Open University. She is a former senior science research specialist of the Institute of Biological Sciences. She worked for the CONserve-KAIGANGAN program under the Career Incentive Program of the Science Education Institute, the same government institution that also awarded her undergraduate and graduate scholarship. She completed her Bachelor of Science in Biology at the University of the Philippines, Manila, and finished her Master of Science in Environmental Science in UPLB. Her research interests include environmental biology and conservation of Philippine flora. Everyone, let us listen to Miss Elaine's talk regarding the biodiversity of Kaigangan Forest in Samar. Let's show our clap reactions to welcome her.
Hello, good morning. Um, before we start our presentation, I just would just like to say good morning to everyone here. Some are Cebu, from Mindanao, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. So good morning, and I will present a paper titled Biodiversity of Forests over Limestone Ecosystems in Samar Island Natural Park. May I request the Secretariat to share the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Entitled Biodiversity. Good morning, everyone. I am Elaine Villanueva, former research staff of CONserve-KAIGANGAN, and I would like to present you this webinar entitled Biodiversity of Forests over Limestone Ecosystems in Samar Island Natural Park. To begin, let's quickly go down to the history of the SINP today. So in 1996, by virtue of the Presidential Proclamation Number 744, SINP began as Samar Island Forest Reserve. Then in 1992, the National Integrated Protected Area System, or the NIPAS Act, was established as a law. And in 2003, the former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo established SINP as a protected area to conserve and sustainably use its natural resources. So what are forests over limestone? Also known as karst forest or limestone forest, or in Samar dialect, Kaigangan. Forest over limestone is a forest formation type in tropical rainforest regions thriving along limestone plain areas. Samar Island has the largest limestone formation in the Philippines. We, as a research program, has the goal of assessing and conserving Kaigangan biodiversity towards its sustainable management in Samar Island. We are also supporting the UN Sustainable Development Goals, as our project components are contributing in their own ways to achieve the SDG targets. However, for this presentation, I will emphasize how our research program has been helping in meeting these two specific goals. So we have here the goal 15, or the life on land, which targets specifically for the conservation and sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. And goal 11, wherein sustainable cities and communities, wherein we target to strengthen the efforts to protect and safeguard the world's cultural and natural heritage. So this presentation has the following objectives. First, to provide information on the outcomes of the plant and animal biodiversity assessment we conducted in SINP. Second, we describe the tree community structure in SINP. And lastly, we highlight the significance of the nomination of SINP as a UNESCO Natural World Heritage Site. So for the methodology,
Our study area is, of course, located in Samar Island, the easternmost chunk of island in the Visayas region. It is the third largest island in the country and has the largest area of limestone formation. Our assessment was conducted in two municipalities of Samar. We have Paranas in the province of Samar and TAF in the province of Eastern Samar. The broken lines you can see in the map show the boundary of SINP, which covers about a third of the island. Samar, in general, is classified as Type 2 under the modified Coronas classification. Type 2 is characterized to show no dry season at all throughout the year. The figure you can see on the screen right now is called a climogram or a Walter diagram. These are graphical representations of the average monthly temperature and precipitation of a certain area over a 30-year period. On the x-axis, you will see the month of the year, and on the y-axis, we have here the temperature and the rainfall blue line. So the temperature here is the red line. So we generated these graphs from the climate data we obtained from PAGANGAN. And as you can see here, the locations indicated here are the nearest weather stations from our study area. Catbalogan Synoptic Station is the nearest weather station in Paranas, and Borongan Synoptic Station is the nearest one from TAF. And this graph is very useful in identifying the period of dry seasons in a certain area. It is also helpful in characterizing the climate of a certain area. And the period is considered dry if the precipitation line or the blue line falls below the temperature line. So in this case, there is indeed no dry season throughout the year in summer. For the faunal assessment, the methods were adopted and modified from the Manual on Biodiversity Assessment and Monitoring System for Terrestrial Ecosystems by Cruz et al. The images you can see here on the left are some of our trapping methods. So we have here the pit pulse trap for amphibians and small lizards. We have here the cage trap for non-Holland mammals and camera traps. Also, we use hand capturing and the use of forceps and snake hook and tongs for herpet and fauna, and these nets for birds and Holland mammals. Aside from that, we also collected secondary data and ethnobiological accounts to complete the inventory in Paranas. For the floral assessment, we did quadrat or plot method for the assessment of trees. So this on the left, you can see here the diagrammatic illustration of our assessment for plants. So these are measured 20 meters by 20 meters. And for the understories, we made line transects within these plots. And these line transects are 5 meters in length with 1 meter interval. Aside from that, we also collected secondary data for the review in relation to species occurrence and endemics. Also, please note that we collected plant samples here, and they were processed as voucher specimens, which are deposited in the Plant Biology Division Herbarium in UPLB. The maps you're seeing here are the contour maps indicating the position and of the sampling plots in Paranas Island. And it is quite notable that the limestone terrain SINP is quite rugged, making it challenging for the project team to conduct fieldwork around the time. So it was conducted last October 2019. And these plots were selected based on the biophysical characteristics of the area, including heterogeneity of biodiversity, topographic attributes, and the presence of anthropogenic disturbances in the area. So let's now proceed to the results of faunal assessment. And just to warn you, we will show images of wild animals in the next slide, such as lizards, snakes, bats, and etc. Just a warning. For the faunal inventory summary, We collected a total of 106 vertebrate species in Parana, Samar, composed of 4 amphibians, 9 reptiles, 84 birds, and 9 mammal species, with an overall endemicity of 67%. Whereas in fact, Eastern Samar, we inventoried a total of 112 species composed of 5 amphibians, 8 reptiles, 8 birds, and 12 mammals, with an overall endemicity of 67.86%. So these numbers are based on our fieldwork data and the review of published literature in Paranas and PAMB. For the amphibians, so here are some of the notable fauna in Paranas and PAMB. We have here Pulcrana grandicola, or the Mindanao striped spring frog, and then we have here 3 species of Platymantis, Platymantis guenteri, Platymantis rabori, and Platymantis bayani. Note that these 3 species are endemic to Mindanao Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex, or Mindanao PAI. Also, Platymantis bayani we also found it as a new locality record in Paranas, and moreover, please note that Platymantis rabori and bayani are listed as vulnerable under the DAO 2019-09. For the reptiles, we have here some of the notable species such as Tropidolemus subannulatus, or the keeled green heath viper, and then we have here the Lycodon dumerili, or the Dumeril's Asian wall snake, and then the Draco ornatus, or the white spotted flying lizard, and the Eutropis multicarinata. And then please note that the heath viper and Varanus samarensis, or the Samar monitor lizard, are listed as other threatened species based on the DAO 2019-09. For the birds, we have here the southern rufous hornbill, or the Buceros hydrocorax femicaliatus. We also have here the Rhitura samarensis, the Pitas kiri subspecies celestis, and the Papiteron amethystinus, or the amethyst brown dove. So please note that the species with yellow spots here are endemic to Mindanao PAI. Also, I listed here some species that are threatened, such as the Pipecopagad or the Philippine eagle, and that's it. Papiteron amethystinus, or the amethyst brown dove, we are listed as critically endangered, vulnerable, and as well as the one here, the hornbill, is listed as vulnerable. For the volant mammals, the images you can see here are full of bats. We have here the Tenocyrus gregori, or the greater musky foot bat, and then we have here the Tenocyrus minor, or the lesser musky foot bat, and the Macroglossus minimus, or the dogger-toothed long-nosed foot bat. And please note that the lesser musky foot bat here is endemic to Mindanao PAI. Here are some of the notable species for non-volant mammals. So not included in the photo, we have here the Tarsius styricta, or the Philippine tarsier, and the Sus philippensis, or the Philippine wart pig. So that the Philippine tarsier is listed as near threatened, while the Philippine wart pig is listed as vulnerable to the IUCN. We also have here in the images the Philippine flying wolf, or the Syncocephalus volans. Then we have here the Paradoxurus philippinensis, or the common palm civet. And we also have here the Bulinus bagobus, or the bagobo rat, and the Ratus severus, or the Philippine forest rat. Bulinus bagobus, or the bagobo rat, here is a species endemic to Mindanao PAI. So on the next slides, I will show you the results of the floral assessment, which come from our fieldwork data and of course from our secondary data that we collected. We have here the floristic summary for Paranas summer. We recorded a total of 99 species composed of 63 genera and 44 families. Whereas in Eastern Samar, we inventoried a total of 30 species represented by 22 genera and 18 families. For the flora in Paranas, we have this breakdown of 72 angiosperm species, 11 pteridophyte species, and 1 lycophyte species. Among these, 38 are Philippine endemics, while 18 are non-endemic species. Also, in terms of species representation, the PAMB family or Arecaceae has the highest number of species with 11. And then we have here Euphorbiaceae and Dipterocarpaceae, each with 5 species each. For the TAF flora, we have here a breakdown of 18 angiosperms, 1 gymnosperm, and 4 pteridophyte species. Among these, 5 are Philippine endemics, and as per species representation, we have here 4 families that are made up of 2 species each. We have here the Araceae, Euphorbiaceae, Pandanaceae, and Sapotanaceae. So here, you can see here the images of some of our notable plants. We have here the Tectaria calcarea, labeled as letter A. This is a fern species. And then we have here Artocarpus rubrobineus. And then that's letter B. And then we have here Hansea wentzeliana, marks letter C. Together, these 3 are recorded as New Island records in Paranas. Also, we included here 2 pictures of plants here. We have Wallacea dendron celebicum, or locally known as banuyo. The wood of this plant is commonly used in furniture making. Also, the last but not the least, here in this set of images on the slides, we have here Aquilaria cominiana. The common name of this plant is lapnisan, and this is a highly economically valuable plant. And it is a source of agar wood, which is a highly prized resin with multiple uses. Also, I'd like to emphasize here that these 2 species on the right, the banuyo and lapnisan, are classified as vulnerable species under the DAO 2017-11 and IUCN. So the graph you can see right now is a good figure that compares the 3 structures in Paranas system. So on the x-axis, you will see here the names of the plots in Paranas and TAF, while the y-axis provides the different measures of species diversity. In terms of the number of tree species, the plots in Paranas have higher numbers of trees than TAF. And while in the terms of the number of tree individuals, though it's quite not obvious in this graph, the plots in TAF actually have higher values, although by a slim margin. Also, it is quite remarkable here that in terms of the diversity index, so we have here the Simpson 1 minus T, the Shannon index, and the Fisher's alpha. So Paranas generally have the higher values of diversity per plot. Here is another figure showing a dendrogram, which is an output of the cluster analysis. So why are we doing cluster analysis? So it is a useful tool, a multivariate analysis to classify the plant communities according to the similarities of the species. So what we did here was at first to create a species plot table, and then we used that data to a statistical software to run the analysis or the cluster analysis. For this, we use paleontological statistics for the hierarchical cluster analysis using the UPGMB algorithm and the Sorensen index as a measure of similarity. So we identified 3 communities based on this cluster analysis. The rightmost cluster is the cluster 1, which is formed at approximately 0.55 index of similarity, which is composed of 3 plots from TAF. Also, the next cluster a large one composed of 10 plots, composed mostly of plots from TAP. Lastly, we have here cluster T. I labeled this one as cluster T, and this is another cluster composed. It's a mixture of plots from Paranas, although mostly are from Paranas, and we have here one plot from TAP. The table here provides information on what's inside these three clusters identified. The dominant species here were identified using dominance analysis by Osawa. And on the first rows here, 2 rows, you can see here the dominant species based on the relative basal area and the relative density. Some few observations here. We have here cluster 1 and cluster 3. The both ends of the column here have multiple codominant species, while cluster 2, despite having the highest number of plots, have only 3 codominant species. Cluster 2 is consistently dominated by Sharia negrosensis, Yakal, and Hathea wetzeliana. Also, the diameter at breast height, or the DBH values, generally are so small, but the trees are densely packed in the plant. Also, Paranas has higher diversity, but TAP has a higher number of individuals. It is also noteworthy that the DBH, the mean, and the maximum values of cluster 2 are higher. And this paper, this results compared to a similar analysis in subtropical forests in China. Samar has higher DBH values and denser tree composition. And what we can see here is that in terms of composition and structure, forest over limestone in Samar is quite unique, which has been influenced by its unique terrain and environment. This is the last part of the presentation where we now show you how Samar Island Natural Park is worthy of its nomination as the UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site. An area can be identified as a World Heritage Site if it possesses an outstanding universal value. That is according to the UNESCO World Natural Heritage Convention, which defines outstanding universal value as cultural and or natural significance, which is so exceptional as to transcend national boundaries and to be of common importance for the present and future generations of all humanity. In the succeeding slides, I will show you the natural and cultural significance of SINP. I previously showed you the diversity of the SINP-KAIGANGAN based on the results of our assessment. Aside from that, there are a lot of publications and references about the Samar biota that have proven the biological significance of Samar. Thus, Samar Island is listed as a key biodiversity area, or KBA. KBA is a site that contributes significantly to the global persistence of biodiversity. And it is a critical area that has been a home to critical populations of threatened species. Aside from the quite long list of references, the program has contributed to the body of knowledge by sharing the results of our research through publications. So these publications are also important as important evidence to strengthen the nomination of SINP. I will share the links of these articles on the comments later in case you wanted to read and check this out. Next, to see its cultural significance, let's try to look at the human systems involved in SINP. We will also see how these human systems are deeply integrated with the forest over limestone of Samar. Let's begin with this unique ecosystem service provided by the landscape, which is the sustainable livelihood through ecotourism. First, we have the SINP Ecolodge in Paranas, which has been managed by the SINP-PAMB. Also, we have the Paranas Eco Trail and Birding Site, which has been managed by the People's Organization in Samar. One remarkable cultural significance of SINP is the mat weaving in Samar. The women of Pasay, Samar have been using the leaves of tikog to create beautiful patterns of mat or banig. These groups of women prefer to perform weaving in style of cave, which is also located in SINP. According to Escoda, this practice has been existing ever since the Spanish occupation. And up to this day, this tradition continues and serves as a source of livelihood among the women of Pasay. Lastly, our program has been helping the local communities through community-based conservation in SINP. These community-based conservation activities of CONserve-KAIGANGAN were organized in partnership with Samar State University and BOSIS, a PO based in San Isidro, Paranas. We had established a plant nursery for the ex-situ conservation of the native trees in Samar. In conclusion, the biodiversity assessment in SINP showed the diverse fauna and flora of the Kaigangan ecosystem, threatened and endemic species, as well as the new species records should be prioritized in the local and national conservation efforts of various institutions working collaboratively. Second point, the analysis of the vegetation of SINP displays 3 clusters of 3 communities. The structural features exhibited by these communities are distinctive in Samar forests over limestone. And the last point here, SINP indeed has its natural and cultural significance, which makes it worthy of its nomination as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site. Culture and nature should be seen as woven or integrated systems that are both crucial in the conservation and sustainable use of Kaigangan lands. That's all, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Elaine, for sharing with us the biodiversity of Kaigangan Forest. So if you have any questions to Ms. Elaine, please leave them in our Zoom chat box or in the comment section, chat box of our Zoom meeting. So I reminded to also receive the e-certificate for this event. Please fill out the evaluation form. So the Google form link will be posted in Zoom chat box and at the end of our program. So your certificates will be sent to the email you indicated in the evaluation form. So you may type now your questions to Ms. Elaine in our Zoom chat box. So allow us to have short minute break to allow us to consolidate your question for Ms. Elaine. So we will be right back.
A biodiversity research program was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in the various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taf, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species, with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forest over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.
Welcome back, everyone. So we will now proceed to answer some questions from our audience and to help us in our Q&A session. Please welcome Ms. Marne, the current Senior Science Research Specialist of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN Phase 2.
Okay, thank you, Ren. So let us proceed on the most exciting part of this webinar, which is the question and answer portion. Just to remind everyone that if you have any questions about the presentation, please type it into the chat box for us to read your questions. So there are questions from our audience. So Ma'am Elaine, are you ready to answer these questions?
Yes. Yes.
So the first question is, what are the challenges have you encountered when you conducted your study, and what are some of the things that you did to resolve them?
So the challenges, I think, at least for the team, is yung while conducting the fieldwork, yung terrain. Kasi it's forest over limestone. So maraming mga sinkholes, and it's quite dangerous for the researchers to do. Pero hindi naman ibig sabihin na we cannot do researches in those areas. So what we found out there is, ayun nga, napakaganda kasi ng flora niya. And another pala na challenge siguro din na medyo na ano namin, kumbaga, naging challenge namin is yung sa Samar kasi yung insurgencies, although hindi yun yung isa sa mga naging problem namin is dun kaya na-postpone yung isa naming um, supposed field work sa isang area sa Samar. Ayun. Which is, anyway, ayun po. And another challenge din pala is siguro yung timing nung field work because siguro kasi yung sa pag-identify ng plants kasi you need to, ideal kasi is to have it, to identify it na available yung mga flowers and yung reproductive parts ng plant. So may mga times din na kasi na hindi siya available. And I think a good solution would be to have conduct like sampling for more than one time. Ayun. Although we experience challenges din, especially nga yung project timeline kasi namin is umabot ng pandemic, so naging restricted yung travel, so we had to postpone our fieldworks for several times. And as for the identification din, I think it really helped that we asked the guidance of other colleagues, yung mga experts po na in plant identification. So we collaborated with them din po. Ayun.
Okay, thank you. So there is another question from Dr. Buot. Can the speaker or can you elaborate on how we can collaborate with the Kaigangan conservation
Oh,
or Kaigangan program?
in the program, so kami as a research program, so you can collaborate po with us. So ito pala nandito sa gilid yung aming contact email. So you can contact the program at kaigangan.uplb@up.edu.ph. So I'm quite glad na we have started with the phase 1. So as of now, the program has established collaborations with different POs and universities. And I am also aware that there is still much that needs to be done for the conservation of Kaigangan, and that's why we kick the phase 2 is now beginning. So at least hindi matatapos lang until now kasi ngayon yung end nung phase 1 eh. So at least hindi matatapos lang na hanggang doon na lang yung project. And for those na students din na gusto sigurong mag-inquire or who wants to collaborate with our program, you have to contact us. So we also have a Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/CONKAIGANGAN. So you can also send a message in there and we will arrange kung paano natin i-collaborate yung research sa part ng students. And of course, we might also need to ask then yung consent to mga magiging research advisors nyo if you want to do research on forest over limestones in the future.
Okay, so another questions naman from Joshua in Emisyo IIT. So are there any anthropogenic disturbances you've encountered during your assessment, and what are the potential effects of these disturbances in your gathered data?
Oh, so sa sites namin meron kaming mga na-encounter din na anthropogenic disturbances. So as stated nga din, although I don't know if it kasi di ba po may we're near a trail, although it's an eco trail, so medyo crucial nga yun kasi it promotes tourism, but it also has to be guided in such a way na hindi masisira yung integrity ng ating forest. And another, based on what we have gathered from the review din, although it's quite from the previous years kasi naka-experience din ng logging, although yun nga po. And yung quarrying, limestone forest in general, I think they are prone to quarrying. And yun po.
Okay, salamat. So, maraming tanong, no? So, may isa na namang question. So,
Okay.
another question na naman is that, are there any molecular genetic researches done in Kaigangan?
Again, sorry, molecular
Genetic researches done in Kaigangan.
Molecular genetic research is done in Kaigangan. I think one of our project components, I think it's in project 3, they have been mostly involved in molecular, at least in the microbial part of the data. They had this next generation sequencing of the microbes. So it's under Prof. Daniel Ong. So if you would want to inquire more about it, siguro you can ask the program and we will connect you to him and to the team of Project 3 kung interested kayo sa soils. Ayun po.
Okay,
Ng limestone forest. Ang tumigil.
for you. So, does the presence of limestone in an area or a given area can affect the type of flora and fauna that can live and be found in, especially in Kaigangan?
Yes, it can affect. Kasi ang limestone forest kasi, kung titingnan mo yung environment niya, hindi siya ganun ka-ideal for the forest to flourish that much. Kasi yung soil niya is very poor. Kumbaga yung nutrient-wise, it's poor. So, yung flora niya, kumbaga, the plants and the animals have adapted in such a way na mag-survive sila given yung limited nutrients na nandun. So, kaya kung mapapansin nyo din po doon sa presentation ko, yung description ng mga trees doon is ang papayat nila. Kumbaga yung trunk size nila hindi siya kasing taba nung makikita mo in a tropical rainforest like Makiri. So it's quite small but madami. I mean, marami yung nila, marami siya pero maliliit. And then in terms naman doon sa animals, nag-adjust yung mga animals then to in terms of the way they feed, like isa sa part ng mga results namin, although hindi na-cover sa presentation ito, is yung sa feeding ng birds. Nakita namin doon sa data of their feeding patterns na yung karamihan sa kanila is insectivores and carnivores. So, kung in a forest kasi, in a tropical forest, usually frugivores yung nagiging mas dominant. Pero dito kasi, it's quite it's quite notable kasi given na limited nga yung environment, so thus limited din yung napoproduce ng mga plants na mga fruits, and so yung mga birds, yun yung preference ng mga birds na nandun sa SINP. Do you have any other questions?
So, thank you so much to our speaker for answering the questions of our audience and dear participants. So, we regret to inform you that due to time constraints, we cannot accommodate all of the questions. So, thank you again, Ms. Elaine, for your questions.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone
Thank
who
you din
asked
po
their
sa
questions.
pakikinig po.
Okay. So, ibalik ko na kay Ren. Back to you, Ren.
Hello. Thank you again, Ms. Elaine, for answers to their questions, and thank you to everyone who also sent in their questions. So if you have any more questions in mind, you may contact us using the contact information provided in the chat box. Again, thank you very much, Ms. Elaine. Thank you sa pagpapa-unlock. Okay. So to formally end our program for today, may we call Professor Nova Hilvano of Eastern Samar State University and project staff of CONserve-KAIGANGAN Phase 2 for the closing remark.
Thank you. The project leader of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN project, Dr. Inocencio Buotser, the staff and partners of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN project, our resource speaker, Ma'am Elaine Villanueva, our moderators, participants, friends, colleagues, students, a pleasant morning. Maupay po nga aga ha aton nga tanan. The Samar Island is truly lucky to be chosen as the project site of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN project, which aims to promote the conservation and sustainable use of its forest over limestone biodiversity. As a resident of the Samar Island, I would like to express my sincerest thanks to Sir Buot for this project and to the other members of the project. As said by Sir Buot earlier, this project is for us Samarians. Thank you po. So the conduct of this seminar series about the Kaigangan biodiversity is truly significant in raising awareness and to deepen our appreciation of the Samar Island Kaigangan biodiversity. May this webinar and other webinars to come engage various stakeholders to take necessary actions that will ensure the conservation and sustainable use of the Kaigangan Kaigangan biodiversity. To our participants, thank you for showing support and interest in the Kaigangan biodiversity, and I hope that you will join us again in the next webinars. Thank you very much. Damo nga salamat sa ating tanan. Thank you, Ren.
Thank you, Prof. Nova, for officially closing our program today. So thank you to the speakers who accepted our invites. So before we end our program, may we request everyone to open your camera for a group photo. Kindly turn on your photos po. Ayan. Cameras for photo. Okay, so
of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taf, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species, with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forest over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar's Kaigangan. Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in the various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taf, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species, with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forests over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.